Let kids be kids. Don't make them grow up too fast. Let their childhood last. Let kids be kids. Let them have Saturday morning cartoons, big fat water balloons, scary carnival rides, gigantic water slides. Let them out to play after a rain. Take them on a choo-choo train. And when they're feeling blue, take them down to the zoo. Parents, I'm talking to you. Let kids be kids. Don't make them grow up too fast. Let their childhood last. Let kids be kids. Let them have friends sleeping overnight, an old-fashioned pillow fight, camping out in the backyard, eating peanut butter from the jar. Let them jump all around on a trampoline. Don't make them always be clean. And when they're feeling down, take them to the circus clowns. That'll get rid of that frown. Let kids be kids. Don't make them grow up too fast. Let their childhood last. Let kids be kids. Let kids be kids. Let kids be kids. Let kids be kids.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Storybook Land Show. Today we're going to learn about Little Red Riding Hood. This is going to be a great show. Hope you'll stay with us. Hi, we're here today at the American Visionary Art Museum with Helen Ewan, the Director of Marketing and Communications for the museum. And she's going to show us around. We're excited to see what there is to offer.
And welcome.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have you here.
Thanks so much.
So you're standing in the Jim Browse Visionary Center, and we have here a lot of different things. Usually are large works because you can see it used to be a historic warehouse. So here we've got the London Cabaret Mechanical Theater, and it's full of interactives. You can come and push any of the buttons.
Would you like to try that?
Sure. So here's one. Why don't you push this one first? This one is a favorite of our founder and director, Rebecca Hoffberg. You can see he's sitting in a bathtub of pasta. He's just eating. And the white is Alfredo sauce, and the red is marinara. Wow. Well, I mean, it might be fun just to like have you press a few different ones, you know?
Okay. Some.
So that one is appropriately called Beating a Dead Horse. These are the Net Chans, and if you go to India, that's where they're from. There's hundreds of these. You can see a photo behind the sculptures of the India installation, and there's waterfalls and music and beautiful gardens, and we're so lucky to have a few of them here.
How long did it take to make each one?
Oh, years, because there's literally just hundreds and hundreds. These are our mothers, and you can see they represent mothers from different traditions and cultures.
Now, do you have local artists represented here?
We do, and also from all over the U.S. because we're the nationally designated museum for self-taught and intuitive artistry. So next here we have the fish. They're actually actually a kinetic sculpture, meaning it's art and it moves. You could see it's a recycled bicycle. So every May, the first Saturday of May, we invite anyone and everyone to build a kinetic sculpture that then they race through Baltimore for 15 miles. They go over land, they float over the harbor, and they go through obstacles like a sand pit and a mud pit. So they have to be designed to both be on the terrain as well as in the water. Is this a winner? We have used this many times before, and there's all kinds of prizes. The most prestigious one being finishing dead middle, which is the grand mediocre award. So the emphasis of being then on having fun and community spirit rather than on being the absolute fastest.
And it's open to anyone?
Yes, and we have several schools participate every year. And then people with humongous garages, of course, who spend months working on their sculptures.
Your school should do that.
Yeah, it's a really fun time for both the participants and the spectators to see these giant sculptures rolling around in Baltimore.
Welcome back. I wanted to introduce everyone to our kids who are here today. We'll go around the circle, and then will you guys tell me your name? We'll start right there.
My name is Phoenix, and I'm playing a mouse from 3 by Mice. My name's Addison, and I will be doing rhymes. My name's Amy, and I'm doing a rhyme.
Your turn.
My name is Sincere, and I'm hugging a bear.
I'm Sammy, and I'm playing Little Red Riding Hood.
I'm Angela, and I'm going to be doing rhymes.
I'm Barry.
Thank you guys for coming. Before we get to the story of Little Red Riding Hood, I wanted to give you some information about the man who wrote Little Red Riding Hood. You guys interested in hearing that?
Yes!
His name was Charles Perrault, and he is credited as the founder of the literary genre, the modern fairy tale. He was born in Paris. Anyone know where Paris is?
Yes.
In 1628 to a wealthy family, attended law school, and worked in government service for many years. But he lost his government job, and after he did that, he decided to dedicate himself to his children. And in 1697, he wrote Tales and Stories of the Past with Morals, which was subtitled Tales of Mother Goose. You guys heard of Mother Goose?
Yes!
Each tale ended with a lesson, also called a moral. You guys heard of morals before?
Yes!
His book originally contained 8 stories and was an immediate hit, laying the foundations for the modern fairy tale. To create his stories, he used earlier folk tales as inspiration. Do you guys know what folk tales are?
Yes!
So do you know how they're handed down from generation to generation? People, it's usually by mouth. People tell each other stories, and then they tell their kids stories, and then the stories pass down through generations. The Brothers Grimm, whom you may have heard of, they also wrote fairy tales, but they used his stories as inspiration when they were writing more than 100 years after he wrote. So his writing includes many tales you probably know. Raise your hand if you've heard of Puss in Boots, Bluebeard, Cinderella, everyone, Sleeping Beauty, and the story we're focusing on today, which is
Little Red Riding Hood.
Perrault's legacy is an enduring one. His stories have been turned into ballets, musicals, operas, plays, and movies. So that's a little bit about Charles Perrault, who wrote Little Red Riding Hood. Kids, who knows something about Little Red Riding Hood?
Little Red Riding Hood's grandma gets eaten by a wolf.
Good one. Who else?
I know something about Little Red Riding Hood.
What do you know?
Her hood is very, very red.
That is true too.
Little Red Riding Hood's grandma gets saved by the woodcut.
That's true. In some versions she does. Anyone else? Go
Little Red Riding Hood comes across the wood.
She does. Yes.
The wolf and Little Red Riding Hood tried to take the grandma's farm.
That was really good. You guys know a lot about the story. Do you mind if I tell it to you in full?
Yes.
You ready to hear it? You do mind?
No.
All right, so once upon a time, that's how fairy tales usually begin, right? There was a little girl who lived in a village near the forest. And she always wore
A Red Riding.
a red cloak. And so everyone in the village called her Little Red Riding Hood. One day, she asked her mom if she could go visit her grandmother, whom she hadn't seen in a while. And her mom said, "That's a great idea. Why don't I pack some goodies in a basket and you can take them to your grandmother?" So the basket was ready. Little Red Riding Hood grabbed her cloak and the basket and headed off into the woods. And the mother said, "Be careful, go straight to Grandma's. Don't talk to strangers, don't get distracted. The woods are very dangerous." And she's like, "I got it, Mom. Don't worry, I'll be careful." But when she got into the woods, she got a little distracted. She started chasing butterflies, she started picking flowers, and listening to frogs, and she kind of forgot her mission. She wasn't on her way to grandmother's anymore. And she was so busy doing her things that she didn't notice a shadow coming up behind her, until the wolf was right next to her. And he says, "Little girl, what are you doing out here?" And she's like, "I'm going to my grandma's house. She just lives over there behind the brook." Then she said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so late. I've been busy doing all these fun things." And she jetted off into the woods to get to her grandmother's house. But the wolf, do you know what he did? He took a shortcut and he beat her to her grandmother's house. He got to the grandmother's house, he knocked on the door lightly, and the grandmother, thinking it was Little Red Riding Hood, said, "Oh dear, come on in. I've been worried about you. I'm so glad you're here." The wolf let himself in, and guess what he did next? He ate Grandma. So then the wolf went to the grandmother's closet and started poking through her clothes, and he found a nightgown that he really liked and a sleeping cap, and then he put a little perfume behind his ears so that Little Red Riding Hood would think that he was really the grandma. So a few minutes later, there's a knock on the door, and the wolf said, "Who is it?" And she says, "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood." "Oh, how lovely. Do come in, my dear," the wolf said. So Little Red Riding Hood went into her grandmother's cottage, but didn't really recognize her grandmother. "Grandmother, your voice sounds so strange. What's going on?" "Oh, I just have a touch of a cold," croaked the wolf. Then he coughed a little bit to prove his point. "But grandmother, what big ears you have," Little Red Riding Hood said as she walked toward the bed. Do you guys know what the wolf said?
The better to hear you.
I can't hear you.
The better to hear you.
Yes. And then she said, "But grandmother, what big eyes you have." And, oh, let me see it, my dear. "What big teeth you have."
Better to smile at you.
Would the wolf say that, do you think?
Better to eat you.
Better to eat you. I like that, though. Maybe that's a different version. So then, Little Red Riding Hood realized that that was not her grandmother, but the wolf. And the wolf lunged at her, came for her. She started screaming. She ran to the front door. She's like, "Wolf, wolf!" And one of the woodcutters who had been out in the woods ran to the house, bonked the wolf on the head. Grandmother came out, and she was okay. She was a little frazzled. And then the woodcutter dragged the wolf out into the woods, and the grandmother and Little Red Riding Hood had a nice little chat about how scary that was and how she shouldn't have talked to the wolf in the woods. But they all lived happily ever after, except for maybe the wolf. Now we're going to go to break. We'll be right back.
So this is our 10-foot statue of Divine. Divine was made famous in John Waters' movies. They're both from Baltimore. we're so lucky to have it.
I didn't know Divine was from Baltimore.
So here's another kinetic sculpture. So we've got all sorts of prizes. You can see how creative people can be with them. There's prizes for best art, as well as the next to last award for, well, finishing next to last. Now this is really doing good in the world and also talking about some of the, the good and the hard things about being a human. So this was created in 1 week by a homeless shelter, as well as the leading artist of the Burning Man Festival. So you can see it's covered in Baltimore blue glass. Baltimore was famous for making this colored glass. And so it's an homage to also blues singer Billie Holiday, who grew up here in Baltimore. So there's all these elements that come together in this art card. So this is Fifi. She's a de facto mascot for Baltimore. She's a 15-foot poodle, and you can see she's a kinetic sculpture. She's the museum's entry into the kinetic sculpture race every year. You can see where our friends sit and pedal, and this year she is Babe the Blue Ox from Paul Bunyan's Tall Tale, because our great exhibit here is called the Great Mystery Show. So she is dressed in theme and she changes costume every year. Next to her is Baby Fifi.
Is their fur affected when they're in the water? Does that affect how they are performing?
They actually float above water from the legs up here,
Really?
so
Okay.
it never touches.
Okay. Welcome back to Storybook Land.
Woohoo! Yay!
Yay!
So we just heard Little Red Riding Hood, and we were talking earlier about how fairy tales have a lesson or a moral, and I wanted to see what you guys think some of the lessons are from this story. Little Red Riding Hood?
Don't talk to strangers.
Good one. Anyone else?
Don't talk to a wolf.
Even if the wolf is talking to you? Yeah. Any others?
Don't befriend anybody you don't know.
That's true. Yes,
Don't get distracted.
that's right. Listen to your parents, right? When they say go straight there, and especially now, with phones, they know where you are most of the time, right? Probably wouldn't get too lost in the woods. What were things that you liked about the story? Yes.
Little Red Riding Hood was getting lost.
You liked her getting lost? Yes.
That the wolf got banged in the head.
Oh, you guys like the dark parts.
That the wolf didn't survive.
Yes.
That the grandma came out at the end.
And everything was okay. And was there anything you didn't like? If you could change something about the story, what would you change?
I would change the wolf to be a robot that tried to destroys Dorothy and goes to another dimension.
Dorothy? Oh, did you just go to Wizard of Oz?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I would change that there's a happy ending and that like there's no jokes.
I would change the way that the wolf got punished because that was a little violent.
What would you do instead?
I guess.
Time out?
I guess the wolf would be dragged into another place that's far, far away.
I think that's what they ended up doing in this one. They just kind of made him unconscious before they did that. Thanks for all your thoughts and ideas regarding Little Red Riding Hood. Who has heard of it's a musical and a movie called Into the Woods? And is Little Red Riding Hood in that?
Yes.
So I am pleased to have Sammy, who is also dressed as Little Red Riding Hood, singing I Know Things Now from the movie.
You can come out.
Mother said straight ahead, not to delay or be misled. I should have heeded her advice, but he seemed so nice. And he showed me things, many beautiful things that I hadn't thought to explore. They were off my path, so I never had cared. I had been so careful, I never had cared. And he made me feel excited, well, excited and scared. When he said, come in with that sickening grin, how could I know what was in store? Once his teeth were bared, though I really got scared, well, excited and scared. And then he drew me close and he swallowed me down a dark, slimy path where lay secrets that I never wanted to know. And when everything familiar seemed to disappear forever, at the end of the path was Granny once again. So we lay in the dark till you came and set us free, and we're back at the start. And I know things now, many valuable things that I hadn't known before. Do not put your faith in a cape and a hood. They will not protect you the way that they should. And take extra care with strangers, even flowers have their dangers. Although different is exciting, nice is different than good. Now I know, don't be scared, Granny is right, just be prepared. Isn't it nice to know a lot and a little bit not?
Thanks for the song, Sammy. That was great.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Hey, Couch, let's go to the farm.
You could use the fresh air and exercise.
Must play game. What happened?
Let's go to the farm. Let's go. Let's go.
What can we do at a farm?
I'll show you.
Wow, I didn't know I could have this much fun without pushing buttons. I'm finally getting feeling back in my thumb. Bonus.
It's cool.
It's sweet. Fresh from the farm.
Let's eat. Let's go to a farm.
All right, kids. I'm going to read you a poem that I thought you might enjoy. I always think the cover of a book is like a door, which leads us into magic lands that I've not seen before. A pirate or a fairy queen might lift the latch for me. I often wonder when they do what welcome I may see.
Open it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And action talking about it.
I have a magic door here. Would anyone like to go through to Storybook Land? Sincere, would you like to go? All right, let's go over. I've got my key. I'm going to open it, and I'm going to unlock the door, and then you go right through, okay? All right. My goodness, he's gone. I think he's in Storybook Land.
Really? Oh.
Who else wants to go to Storybook Land? If you come back next show, maybe you can. Everyone at home, if you'd like to come to Storybook Land, tune into us every week. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
And so appropriately, we end here in front of the robot family. This is created by Devon Smith, and he holds the world's record for most miles hitchhiked. So while he was on the road, he got lonely and decided to build a family for himself, which he says, just for $40, I got myself a grandma and a puppy and everybody else.
Here's a question for you. Did they go with him? Did drivers pick everyone up?
Well, this is after his hitchhiking days, and so they were happily ever after, a family together.
We had a great time today. Did you guys have a good time?
Yeah!
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.
Mother said, straight ahead, not to delay or be misled. I should have heeded her advice, but he seemed so nice. And he showed me things, many beautiful things that I hadn't thought to explore. They were off my path, so I never had dared. I had been so careful, I never had cared. And he made me feel excited, well, excited and scared. When he said, come in, with that sickening grin, how could I know what was in store? Once his teeth were bared, though I really got scared, well, excited and scared. And he drew me close and he swallowed me down a dark, slimy path where lay secrets that I never wanted to know. And when everything familiar seemed to disappear forever, at the end of the path was Granny once again. So we lay in the dark till you came and set us free. And we're back at the start. And I know things now, many valuable things that I hadn't known before. Do not put your faith in a cape and a hood. They will not protect you the way that they should. And take extra care with strangers, even flowers have their dangers. Although different is exciting, nice is different than good. Now I know, don't be scared, Granny is right, just be prepared. Isn't it nice to know a lot and a little bit not?
Okay.
Let kids be kids. Don't make them grow up too fast. Let their childhood last. Let kids be kids. Let them have Saturday morning cartoons.